Hello and welcome to episode 13 of SlummerTV, the official Neon Divide podcast. I am joined here currently by Nick Knack and Bucky. Chair Handler will be joining us in a few moments. And of course, I am your host, Skiz. Obviously, we are here planning to make an announcement. If you want to go straight into it, Nick Knack.
Well, yeah, sure. So, first things first, we know we've been radio silent for a while. It's been, a whole year since RP?
At least.
Yeah.
Just
like
about
that.
a year. We're about to hit it. Yeah, so we haven't been idle. We've been very busy. One of the big things has been getting things reorganized. We've had a lot of staff step down, a lot of staff step up. Some changing of hats, some changing of systems and stuff in the background. We've let our cast kind of know more about what's going on in the background, but the important thing to bring here today is, the next season, right? Everyone wants to know about it. So, the next season is not quite season 4 yet. We're not quite ready for it. But we're going to be going into a season 3.5. What that means exactly is very simple. Think of it like an extended epilogue. We're finishing up stories, starting new stories for season 4, helping characters either roll out or come in and give them that time to come in and just start things up, finish things off, because the last season was rather short and whatnot. More than anything, though, we're not really worried about combat this season. We're more worried about the social aspect, the storytelling, and stuff like that. And it's going to be rather short. It's going to be about 8 episodes. So 2 months of active season time. We'll go into break for a bit. And then hopefully by the time that is out, then we roll into season 4. Kind of take it into the winter months. Stuff like that. So, 2 points regarding season 3.5 otherwise is that we're not going to be really taking in any new characters at the moment for season 3.5 because our systems in the background, our new skill system and stuff like that is still not quite ready. We've been working really hard on that. The character team has just been crunching out a bunch of new stuff. We've been getting new systems in place, new ways to handle characters, dice rolls, all that stuff. People won't stop telling me to shut up about a D6 system, all sorts of stuff like that. So, so the main thing is season 3.5 is happening, and hopefully after a short break after that, we'll be rolling into season 4. So, for that, we're going to be accepting new supporting cast. So we're going to be having an announcement out about that eventually when we have it ready. Skiz, you can actually talk a bit more about that, can't you?
Yeah, we're kind of working on restructuring the support cast, how support cast kind of works. One of the things that we're kind of poking at is kind of differentiating between kind of the different support cast roles that we have currently. Right now, there's kind of this, in the past we've had, okay, you're either just a random, what we've called an NPC or an extra in the past. We're kind of moving towards calling that just general, SCP work for support cast player. Because, I mean, they are still players, even though they're not, persistent characters. And so that's going to be more, that is still going to exist where, okay, a GM tells you, okay, hey, I need someone to, go be a customer at the store for a few minutes because, they're looking kind of bored in there. Oh, okay, I need some random slummers to act as, gang members and kind of hassle this person who's kind of poking their nose around in an alley by themselves, things like that. That's still going to exist. But one of the things that we're kind of playing around with is making a more of something that you can kind of, after a little bit of just doing that, you can kind of earn your way into doing a more persistent support cast role that's not like, you'll still be pulled away from time to time by a GM to say, hey, I need someone to, do any of the previous things. I need someone to, act as a guard or whatever. That kind of stuff will still happen, but you'll be able to return to a more persistent support cast role that, you know, you kind of work with your GMs to kind of basically make a character that is, you know, rather than full-time, still being pulled away and a little bit more locked to, you know, your map. You might still get, you know, said, then a GM might still say, hey, we're low on SCP for this particular map. We need you to move. But, you know, the main goal is that you'll be able to actually kind of tell a little bit of, you know, you'll be able to have a more persistent role that you'll be able to return to when those shorter term roles aren't needed. And then, of course, in some cases, you know, there will still be things where it's like, hey, a GM needs a recurring support cast role, like, you know, whether that be, okay, the leader of a gang, like, or, you know, a lieutenant of a gang, or, you know, things like that. That'll still exist as well. But the main thing is that we are looking towards, you know, something that support cast will be able to return to when there's downtime, so that they have that recurring kind of persistent role, kind of similar to what the Undercity had last season, where a lot of the Masaru guards, you know, they were still being played even when they weren't guards. You know, they were just casual NPCs walking around. Again, sorry, we're moving away from the term NPCs because they are still players.
Yeah. An important lesson that we learned from season 3 was that everyone in our cast, regardless of their player character, GM, or SCP, is still a player. So they deserve all the same level of treatment. They just have different roles in the part that makes Neon Divide, right? The whole part of the same system, cogs in the wheel, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not fair for folks to be treated just as, you know, thrown off mooks or anything of the sort. People deserve more ways to interact with each other roleplay wise and have things to attach to and get excited for, instead of just, oh, I'm gonna go be Pillbug number 5 in the Wasteland. Well, that's a fun role, you know, maybe that's not for everybody, or that's not for everybody all the time, you know. And we want to offer definitely more more time actually role playing, instead of just being a funny haha man or a monster or a guard that
Yeah.
falls over after a couple shots,
Or idling the whole time.
or
right?
idling the whole time at a guard gate, right?
Yes.
Which we
Yeah.
are doing away with that in general, but we'll get to that here in a bit, won't we? Whenever he's ready, he can walk on in and we can start talking about that next topic.
Is that my roll call?
I guess
That's
it
your roll
is.
call.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Grab a
What's
seat.
We got
up,
a seat
guys?
right here for you.
Keeping it nice and warm for me, thank you.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
currently on my my mobile half body setup, so it's gonna do the weird, gonna be
Half body.
awkwardly crouching next to you. So.
No, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we do what we
Hello,
gotta do.
SlummerTV.
Yeah. So, with all of that Season 3.5 stuff out of the way, let's start talking some stuff for Season 4, because we actually have another thing to talk about that involves these two especially, and I'll let Chair and Bucky take the floor here.
Yeah, well, so one of the big changes that there's a lot of new stuff coming with Season 4 across all maps, but one of the biggest changes that we are bringing forward is there's no more
drum
Upper
roll.
City. Yeah.
Blow up the Upper City. It's gone. No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
of
Not
course not.
actually.
No, of course not. No, that's ridiculous.
No, we are making a new map for our corporate players to roleplay on. This new map is called Union Heights. It is a map that's separate from the Upper City. It's in a different area of the city. Basically, all corporate players are going to be moved to this this adjacent different location. The idea behind it is we want to make corporate roleplay. We want to protect the parts of corporate roleplay that people enjoy, that people like, the social interactions, the backstabbing, all that, you know, the drama behind corporate roleplay that people do like. But we want to at the same time try to increase the amount of realistic interactions that would actually happen in this world. So now in this stage, when we have corporate players going, or corporate characters going down to the row or the undercity, it makes sense for them to be down there, because now these positions that they are in are designated to only manage those areas of the city, not the entire city or the entire planet at such a massive and wide scale. So Yeah, so all of our corporate players are going to have new positions. We're reaching out to each and every one of them to designate those new positions for them to make it really crystal clear as to what their position is, what they want to do with their character, and how they can do it. We're writing a whole bunch of stories for each corporation to make it more interesting to roleplay as a corporate character. You have objectives to go after, things to accomplish. You have people to please. You have new characters to work with, both on the player side and on the GM side. We're increasing the amount of non-player characters by like tenfold. Um,
Supporting
so
cast characters.
exactly.
SPs.
Oh, well, sorry. I meant but between
Yeah.
between both GMs and supporting cast, non-player. Yeah, my bad. Yes. But yes, yeah. It's a whole massive list of changes that comes with this. But we're really excited. We've been working really hard on this kind of new thing, and we've been working on it for almost a year now. So it's pretty exciting to
Yeah.
finally be able to talk about it with you guys and
So
really
relieving.
kind of
Yeah.
really kind of hit the ground running with all of the new stuff that we have coming out. And yeah, we just can't wait to show it to you guys. It's gonna be really really cool.
Yeah, bringing corporate gameplay a little bit more down to earth and making those stories a little bit more believable and breathing new life into the corporate role play, I think, is going to really be the shining point of Union Heights when people get a chance to see it and dive into the story that we're cooking up.
Yeah, it's going to be really great.
I mean, we have some points to go over for that specifically, right? We have some pretty big things. Let's see. We've got like, one of the big things I think it was more details on where corporate characters are going, right? So we've said Union Heights, but what does Union Heights exactly mean? Like, is this just a place, or is it just a thing? What's going on?
Yeah. So Union Heights, it's in kind of the hierarchy of the city. It's right above. So we have the row, we have the ring of the mission map in the city, and then we have Union Heights. So in the hierarchy of things, Union Heights is their kind of sole focus is the district of their areas in the mission map, row 32, the Undercity, the Wasteland. Pretty much the scope of their operations, what they've been so far, but it's a little more refined and a little more clear as to what their power level is and kind of what they can expect as a corporate role player. And there's different ways that you can go up in the corporate hierarchy depending on the kind of objectives that our corporate players accomplish. I don't want to go into too specific of details, kind of like I don't want to go into explain everything that we explained to the cast because I want to leave a lot to surprise for you guys, but it's all in a very nice, fun, realistic direction for corporate roleplay. Pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely some things we kept in mind was power scale was definitely one of those issues that popped up in the roleplay constantly, especially with corporate characters. It wasn't the corporate characters' fault, of course. It was more so the broadening of scope and the uncertainty of powers and what it means to actually be a CEO of an entire planet and all these other things that realistically were not just harming the roleplay in general, but harming our player characters by not being sure and certain about these things. So Union Heights is hopefully a solution to that problem where we bring folks down, not to a level that seems demeaning, but to a level that is more focused, more realistic, and all sorts of things.
Yeah, better representative of like the skill set that the corporate characters and all this is across all the corporations, like what you actually do in your role play experience, right? Rather than sitting in a boardroom talking deals all the time, you can get out there, walk around the actual city a bit, and make that map feel a bit more alive.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the upper city is really like there's not much neutral ground, as kind of it exists right now. The majority of the map is taken up by each individual corporation's like district. But with this, they're going to have their office building, their their point of interest, and the rest of kind of the map is going to be pretty neutral ground. So we're going to have non-corporate characters for the first time in a corporate kind of setting. So that means we are going to have slightly less corporate characters, but opening the doors to non-corporate characters or characters that are not directly affiliated with corporations means that we can kind of allow, businesses to be acquired or fought over, or people to kind of like manage things like that. It really just opens the floodgates for the possibilities for us as GMs and writing the story kind of moving forward. It's a pretty exciting thing to have as non-corporate characters. I'm really
And
stoked.
the other maps are very excited as well. I know Undercity is excited to cross collaborate now that we
Yep.
don't have to worry about this whole like, well, they're the heads of their corporations, so if they say the word, then suddenly
Yeah.
a map gets flooded with corporate forces or something like that, or something of the sort happens. Now we can have those more realistic crossover collaborations where the row gets affected, or the the Undercity or the Wasteland or whatever gets affected by, and everyone else, including Union Heights, gets affected by these stories as well. So, we don't have that worry of like players, not liking each other because of a choice that made sense for their character or something, but they had to do it because it's their role play as the head of a corporation or something like that. This lets characters be less of a corporate head and almost a GM in some scopes. Like that was some of the
Yeah,
worry
that was
that I
one of the
heard.
big issues.
Right.
Yeah.
And makes them more open to do their own characters, to explore their own stories. And I mean, you go into your office, you work your job for maybe a little while, and then you just go be your character, and you're flying colors of your corporation if that's what your character feels. Otherwise, you just go around in a suit or your casual clothing and go be a character, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Everything that
the
you'd
important bit.
expect from like the downtown core of a megacity,
Yeah.
right? Rather than
Exactly.
this upper echelon that is unreachable by people. It is the melting pot of all these different maps and different characters, which is going to be
great
so much fun.
because yeah, and we really get to um you really get to just expand the scope of your own. Our corporate characters are going to get to do so much more.
So much
I'm
more.
really excited. One really big important thing to note here with this change though is that the Galactic Union as it exists on Union Heights will not be a player run faction. This means that it'll be the characters that our corporate players will meet will be either played by supporting cast players or GMs themselves. We have some stories in mind that involve, policing the corporations in certain ways, and kind of vice versa, the corporations kind of overrunning the Galactic Union. And we found just a lot of issues with trying to make that work with a player run faction. And we think just having one of these factions that's in a position of this kind of power be a GM based or GM run faction will kind of give us the flexibility and freedom to write more compelling stories.
Yeah.
And it sucks
Yeah.
because players are no longer in those positions, but we've talked to those players, they understand, and
we'll be working with them to move along where their characters actually wanted to be in the first place, because that was one of the big things for season 3. People applied to Union as it was one of the last places to go and apply because no one wanted to apply for Union.
Yeah.
So they're getting to the places that they actually wanted to be with their characters in the first place, or re-rolling, or whatever those characters decide to do. And for some of you who recall from season 2, back when we had a few notable Union characters, Union wasn't to be messed with. They were a powerful force because they were, despite being the losers in the the galactic war that happened between the corporations and the Union, they still have a power and measure of authority below the corporate galactic board. And that isn't something to sneeze at, but it hasn't been properly depicted before. And because of that, alongside our decision of just having players being unable to enforce that kind of idea and having a hard time, just depicting that with player characters GM side, we thought it would be better used as a means for GMs to kind of, police the corporates a bit. Not to say that in a negative way, but the reality is that you need someone to crack the whip every once in a while, or start an event, or make a big public announcement and stuff. And what better faction than the Union to do that? So
exactly.
that's where we find ourselves with it.
Yeah, especially when we're writing stories that are kind of pushing our characters to start doing, start crossing that line a little bit, start crossing that legality line. It's I don't want to say too much, but it's there's going to be some things that our characters are going to meet that will kind of require that force to be present, and I think we can really get that accomplished as GMs in a way that wasn't really possible before as players, since it was hard for a player, for players to exercise their power in the way that they would have liked.
I want to expand on that too. Like the main point of kind of this restructure is now the players, you don't have to wait necessarily for a GM. Like, what you're able to do and control and influence as a corporate character. You're not waiting for a call from the galactic CEO to approve something anymore. You are out in the city. You are making an influence with your character and your story there.
Yeah, I mean, you guys as viewers know probably how many times the character that you guys love to watch had to stop and ping me or Bucky, and then I had to ping Sci-Fry and be like, hey man, they want to do this, like I don't know what to tell them, but it'll be a lot like more clear as to what the dynamic is there with the power scale and everything. So it's and something else to kind of note, another big change that we're making is Lazarus is no longer going to be a mechanic for player character use. It's still an in-world thing, an in-lore thing that does exist and is real, but all the characters that previously had it will no longer have Lazarus going forward, and I don't plan on ever giving out or having Lazarus, reincorporating Lazarus into the RP in any way.
It was a system that had very inherent flaws, and it's about time it goes out with the rest of the flawed parts of the Upper City. And I think everyone can agree on that in one way or another.
For the most part, it brought me back a few times.
It brought you back a few times. Fair. All right. Fair enough. All right. I won't fight it on that account.
But we'll have better systems to handle that or situations like that. We just don't want to spoil too much here.
Exactly. Let's see. What else? What else can we go over that isn't too spoilers here?
I did also want to point out something that Bucky made reference to earlier, is the fact that this is not just going to be like previously the Upper City. It was very difficult to get in if you were not an Upper City character. Which kind of led to this pretty recurring issue of like, okay, a lot of people start, their RP up there, figure out what they're going to do for the day, and then go to the other maps. I think one of the things that's going to be really healthy for the state of roleplay is just, the fact that this is just a part of the city that's, while expensive to live there, you can just go there if you have, like an ID and like bus fare. It's not, a huge security like thing where you need to be the top of a corporation to get there or invited by a corporate head to get there.
Yeah, it'll be a lot easier to get there. There's going to be interesting things. There's going to be reasons to go to the map as well, actual like interesting points of interest, restaurants, bars, things like that to go to explore, to sit down, to have those meetings, to have those intense one-on-one conversations with characters. So there's going to be a lot more just interesting spots to watch roleplay unfold, and I know just as a viewer for you guys, it's going to be it's just going to be great. I really can't express enough how excited
GM
I am for all this.
or any of the sort. It's going to be an exciting time, and that's what we want to bring here, is just excitement all around for everybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you guys talk about how 3.5 is going to work for?
I did get over that right at the start here. We kind of went over the initial bits there. But yeah, I think we're open to questions now. If there's nothing else, I can't think of anything.
We do. We have a question. This is to all you guys. What are you guys most excited about to explore in 3.5 in the future of Unidad?
Ooh, that's from isn't it? All right. Well, I guess I'll go first as RP League guy. All right, I'm gonna give a cop-out answer because I have to give this one. I'm excited about everything that's going to be happening in season 3.5 because it means that 1, people get the role play again. 2, stories either get to be wrapped up for characters that I love, or new characters get to come in that I love to see happen. A lot of people have been talking about, ever since we made the announcement to the cast, a lot of people are like, oh, I can't wait for my character to come in and do this and do that. Or, I'm really happy that we get to wrap up this character story. I feel there wasn't enough time last season to really get it done. And stuff like that. So I'm just excited that everyone's excited for it and looking forward to just everyone having a good time with it. That's my cop-out answer. Chair, what do you think?
Well, with 3.5, for so long, me and Bucky were writing with Soma and with you, Nick Nack, on just like how we're gonna make this transition work between seasons 3 and season 4. Of like, okay, we have this like really big time jump. We have to figure out all these characters, and we have to work out all of them, reasons and how long they've been there and like all this stuff. But with 3.5, we actually get to tell the story of our characters going from the upper city to Union Heights. We get to kind of like we get to give our players and characters, our player characters, the experience of going through this, however they interpret it. If they interpret it as a huge blow to their personal ego, or if they see it as an exciting new opportunity in a new place, like and fresh start. It's like we get to give them that kind of like chance to tell that side of their story or that experience. So with 3.5, I can't wait to just watch it unfold and see how each character kind of like takes the news and prepares themselves for the transition, either to Union Heights or to off planet if they retired their character, or to wherever else. It's yeah, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, giving the players agency to help tie up the rest of that storyline and tie up those connections to the upper city is going to be a lot of fun, because it's not all set in stone. Like there's a little bit of leeway for some people to choose how the end comes when it comes, and it's not necessarily an end. It is, like you said, a transition, right? Yeah. Man, what isn't there to be excited for in 3.5 and 4?
That's you can't use mine. I already used mine.
I'm not using it. I'm just asking.
I mean,
asking
it's
the
true
question
though.
again.
Like it is hard to
It's
pick
hard.
a specific thing. Yeah.
We have like whole new systems. We have we have so many new just overhauls of like story writing stuff. Like there's so many new stories that we have coming for our characters, and so much cool shit for you guys to watch. I can't.
Now that you mentioned that, I think that might be where I call it, actually. The storylines that are going to be introduced in 3.5 and season 4, like some of the characters and some of the storylines that we're introducing, I am so excited to share with everybody. We've been diving in and writing a ton, and I think people will find some familiarity in it, some nice nods to certain things, but at the same time, during this season 3.5, like it's not going to be a rushed transition. That's another thing, is like we have a set amount of time, but people aren't expected to just go pedal to the floor the whole time. You can kind of take your time and actually live out and RP out that transitionary period, and then at the end we have that lovely surprise.
Yes. Or our characters can choose to like, screw it, I'm going straight to Heights. Like I'm going today.
Yeah.
They show up for an episode, and then they move to the Heights and see you in season 4. We get to give our characters the opportunity of like, how do you want to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, guide your own change, guide your story.
Yeah,
exactly.
And personally, I'm excited in terms of just like in the Undercity, we've got an entirely fresh DM team coming into 3.5. And first of all, let me just say that like the amount of cooperation and like help that we got from the previous GM team was absolutely like it was the best situation to be walking into with that. Like, we've had multiple meetings of just like, okay, this is what this character is doing. This is what's going on with their story. Like, oh, by the way, this is this one secret that very few people know about that's going on here. Like, that you need to be aware of. Just like we had such good communication with them. And so now coming in, like, it's not, despite the fact that the three of us, myself, Friendly Explosion, and RK, despite the fact that we're, basically a new team coming in all at once for the Undercity, like we are I mean, we hit the ground running with writing almost
They
a year
scare me.
ago at this point,
scare me,
and
Chad.
I'm just so excited for for our plans, and just to see how people interact with them, and I think we got a lot of good role play to look forward to.
We
You don't want
started
to see
up
the
a whole
whiteboards.
this whole GM whiteboard, and we're all putting ideas on there and stuff. And there's like a bunch from all the teams, but Undercity was the first off the bat, just like fucking just lines of just
This wall of
ideas,
purple.
just wall of purple that takes up the right side of the board. It's really they took to it like a fish in water. It's really fantastic. But I'm also there's my my non-cop out answer. I'm excited for my new GMs. I'm excited for my new GMs, my current GMs, to get their feet wet and to get them interacting with the characters in all sorts of different ways, be it as a GM, be it as characters, be it as whatever they feel is appropriate to interact with my cast, because they're all GMs that I closely trust. And without them, Neon Divide isn't a thing, and without the cast, Neon Divide isn't a thing. So they're both as important to this project.
Without the audience.
Without the audience, we would not be as, shall we say, fantastical and well liked, I think, without you guys. So thank you so much, you guys, for also supporting the project in general, be it through viewership, existing in the Discord, Patreon, merch, whatever it may be. Thank you. I don't care if you're cast, if you're a viewer, if you're a former GM, if you're a former staff, just thank you first and foremost, because you guys are what make Neon Divide. It's what kept me going through all this. It's what kept these guys going through all this, was to bring a fun experience for everyone with Neon Divide. But enough mushy nonsense. Like, we got more questions, don't we? Let's see. We got more. What do we got, dogs? What do we got? We got
None, but I guess I got a question I can ask you guys.
Well, I mean, there's a bunch in here.
Yeah, I see one.
Is season 3.5 going to be a way to also playtest a few of the new mechanics? If they're ready, we may start implementing them, but I can't guarantee that. We're getting closer with the system stuff. And there was also another question there from CMOS, who I think said, what can you tell us about the new skill system? So what I can tell you right now is that D20, I don't like it. I don't like the D20. I'll say it. I'll be bold. I'll be brash. I don't like the D20. I like it for tabletop stuff, but for live action roleplay, VRRP, it's too cumbersome of a dice. It's not fast enough. So one thing that we're experimenting with right now is a D6 system, and people keep telling me to shut up about the D6 system, but I really like it.
There he goes again.
There I go on the D6 system. Yeah, so we want to move to a D6 pool system, if people know what that is. Essentially, it's more accurate, I think, and I think a lot of the team agrees as well, to how characters portray skills and how it makes roleplay a lot faster, rather than looking for, I roll a 1d20 plus a number that my skill is plus whatever the GM thinks is relevant.
It takes some of the vagueness out of it for sure. Like, you don't have as big of a scale, right?
Yeah, and there's way less swinging. I think that's the thing I really like, is if you're skilled at something, you're just going to succeed more often. Like, that makes sense.
It just does make sense, right? It makes characters be it was pretty fluid during the workshop and the runner night that we tested on. So I think it's a good system. That's one of the big things. If you don't know what a D6 pool system is, in essence, you roll pools of D6 equal to whatever relevant thing you're doing. So let's say we take from the former season, Bucky, you were a combat character. So let's say you're trying to open a door, right? You're trying to open your door, your combat
corporate combat character.
Yeah, I know.
Which will actually mean something in season 4.
Which will mean, exactly. It will be relevant. We're fixing that. But let's say you're trying to break open a door, right? And in the new system, you're cybernetically enhanced. You've got some strength behind you. You're combat ready, and you're trying to breach a door with your raw mechanical might, right? So for me, I would be rolling, let's say, a d6 for each level of strength or combat that Bucky had. So he would have 3 die, because that's how far we're going. 3, no more 5s, no more worrying about that, just 3. We roll 3 dice, and Bucky, maybe he has an edge on top of his combat that adds an additional die. Sure, That's 4
Door
dice
kicker
to
edge.
you. Door kicker edge, sure, right?
Yeah.
That's 4 dice to him. And that's 4 rolls of a d6. And the only thing that matters is whether or not he gets a red, which is on a 1 and 2, a green, which is a 4-5, 3-4-5, or a critical success, which is on a 6. Red is
I
a
kick
failure.
the door off the hinges and into the next room.
So the door, let's say it's pretty strong. It's corporate grade. It's a difficulty 4, right? So we're rolling those dice. Actually, maybe I can pull out these dice here. Hold on. Do I have an avatar with that system visualized? I might not. But regardless, we're rolling dice. I'm rolling the 4 dice, and it's a difficulty 4. Let's say Bucky rolls his dice. He gets 1 failure, 2 successes, and a critical success. So that's 2 successes and a critical, which counts for 2. 4, he rips open that door with his mechanical might, and bada bing, but he doesn't have to worry about any of the numbers. All you need to know when I roll those dice for you is to look at the colors on my roller, and there's a red, a green, and a blue. With that, you immediately know the information you need. I know immediately what you need, and boom, the situation continues on without any hiccup, without any, with a 20 or with like a 17, you do break the door open. We don't have to be vague about it because now it immediately depicts it, and we don't have to be vague with our numbers.
It also takes a lot of the weighting out of it too, right? Like the back and forth of calculating the numbers and figuring things out. If you have a visual guide, you don't even have to say anything. The GM just shows you, and you're good to go. You can continue on with the natural role play as you go.
4, right? I say 4 successes. I roll the thing, you see it, ding, 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 ding. Well, there you go. Go on, kick it open, right? I don't even have to say anything to you. It's a visual indicator that just goes. So that's some of the stuff there. We're also working on a bunch of the skill reworks and all that jazz, changing some things up, adding more things, taking some things away that don't feel necessary. But those are minor details we don't have fleshed out. But the D6 system, that one's pretty fleshed out, so I can talk about that.
All right. We have another question here from Tuckus. Major/minor edges and major/minor flaw system. Is it staying on Is it staying as it is on previous seasons, or has it changed, or are there plans to be adjusted?
There are plans for it to be adjusted, but it is staying. One thing that we found was when people went over a certain amount, or there were racial edges and flaws to be considered, it got messy. It got real messy, real inconsistent, real fast. So for the racial edge and flaw system, we're fixing that into a different system to make it more cohesive, more easily to understand, and more balanced across the board. For edges and flaws, we're working on fixing those, balancing them across the board, and just making sure everyone's on the same page for those. So there's a lot of balances, maybe a cutback or two, and maybe some additions, but ultimately it's not getting changed around too much where you won't be able to recognize it. Yeah,
basically, as a viewer, the big thing is that it's getting balanced. Every character sheet is getting looked at, and the same mechanics that we have in the system today of the different abilities that characters can do will still be present. We're still going to have those in our systems. It'll just be balanced in a better way.
And some of the ones that were kind of lacking in what to do will have more to do now as well.
Yeah, in addition to that, the weighting. The skills are still there, but the weighting is what we've been really trying to kick out. So that just makes it easier to watch too for you guys.
If anyone saw how missions went, sometimes waiting on a die roll for decking a door or something was just too slow. And as one of our runner knights kind of proved, the D6 system makes that immediately a lot more faster, right? Because you look at a DC value, I come by, I roll the dice, you see the colors, bada bing, you're through the door, right? After a countdown or whatever it may be. But let's see. I see another question here. Without spoiling too much, of course. What is the nature of the events planned for season 3.5 and 4? Are they going to be contained within a map, or are there going to be more cross-map events? I'm gonna say both. I'm gonna say both. I'm gonna say both. So we plan to have each map have their own contained stories in general, and of course touch on character stories and all that jazz. But we do want to start planning some more cross-collaborative events. For those of you who saw The Row in Season 3, you know that there was an event near the end that dealt with a faction called the Steel Wings. I want them to be a cross-map menace, not just The Row's problem. So we'll be seeing more of them, maybe in the new Union Heights or something. Who knows? But and there's still
Not me.
just hey, I don't even know. I'll be real. But yeah, so stuff like that. We're doing both essentially. We want more contained stories for our maps, but we also want to cross collaborate more. So every map has things to do with each other and reasons to visit each other and stuff like that.
To collaborate, to work against, to all that jazz.
And not just a cross map thing that like one map has to be the only person to solve, like things that, okay, well, together, or, like we've each got our own parts of this problem, things like that, more so than, what we've had in the past with some cross map events.
Yeah, especially with the transition to Union Heights for the Upper City players. Like, we want to give them a good send-off if we can, if for those who are choosing not to follow that transition, and open that up to the rest of the maps, right? For a chance to say bye to the Upper City in a sense.
Well said. Yeah.
Let's see. Any other questions? Let's see. I see. Don't apologize. That's awesome. That's a hot take. All the doors are going to get destroyed. Why is Bucky so handsome? Whoa, who said that?
That's just you, Nick.
This dude has this suit in real life.
He does. He's crazy.
Not even kidding. It is so cool.
Yeah. If you're going to TwitchCon, come find me.
Yeah, this dude walked into a bar at TwitchCon with this damn tie, and I was like, "What?"
You're like, "Wait a second.
Wait a minute." Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Very
no, you're good. No, you're good. I think that's all the questions we have at the moment. I'm seeing things I can't say.
Do we have a question for the audience?
Oh, do we have a question for the audience?
I've got one.
You've got one? Okay, go ahead, Bucky. Go ahead. Flip the table on him. Let's go. Flip the table. Audience, we have a question for you now. Your Q&A.
I'm curious, audience, faceless void camera over there. What do you guys want to see out of season 4? That's what I'm really curious about. Like, what are the things that keep bringing you back? What are the characters, the story moments, the reason you choose to watch Neon Divide?
Good question.
More clowns. That's not ominous.
I swear to fuck.
Son of a...
There's a place for clowns.
Less clowns.
Less clowns.
Less clowns. The chance to yell at Jimothy. I think everyone's waiting for that. I think literally everyone's waiting for that opportunity. I want to beat up a steel wing. Very true, Silent. Go get him. Let's see. I want to see the Psionics get more love, as it was kind of iffy in earlier seasons. For sure. Character moments, cross-faction / map conflicts, character arcs.
Eat a villain as Crunch. Interesting.
Story progression in general, both personal characters and the overall scope of their society. Trying to slip Conch in the casual conversation. Well, I think that's literally rule number 1 if you're a Trident character.
Yeah.
I think that's just rule number 1 for them. Generally, naturally funny moments that happen in awesome peeps. More exciting adventures in the wasteland, says Aussie Sophie. Bring the crazy characters and the hilarious moments. Yep. CMOS tactical corporate office raids. Ooh, that's pretty cool.
Don't you agree?
I'm gonna kick down a corporate's door if it's the last thing I do.
It might not be me, but they're
one for you, Skiz.
Yeah, Sid's are the main characters I watch, but hoping to see more Sid depression. Don't you worry. I am in love with Sid's. Don't worry.
Skiz over there is a robot more than an actual person. I believe it more and more every day. And that is one big thing.
GPT-7 over here.
We do want to bring more of those realistic character elements into play. I know for Skiz, you're a perfect example, right? Where there wasn't a lot of that Sims aren't people sort of story for a lot of the synthetic characters. And it's not a bad thing, because I understand no one wants to depict that, right? Like no one wants to be a bad guy in the most part if they can help it, because
especially like specifically like kind of that like bigotry, like
the
like
robo
looking
racism.
down. Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
that's very. It's not fun for most people to do that. But it's a weird balancing act between like, okay, well, don't think of them as like like the way I always say that like helps kind of get yourself in that mindset is more, okay, think about how you would talk to your uh, smart home device, in that you're not, some people will just like randomly yell expletives because it's funny, because it's not a person. And the idea of talking to something, in a rude way is just haha funny. Like, uh, personally, I say thank you to my Alexa, but I mean, that's myself. Don't respond to that.
He's got a foot ahead.
But like the way that you talk to something like that is a completely different way than you talk to a person, and that is while not reflected in the setting because all of our synth characters are awakened, that is what most synth, what the average synth experience would be in the setting, because fewer than 1% of synths are awakened. We just only see the awakened ones.
Right.
But,
up until now.
I mean, yeah.
I can't talk much more about
Look,
it. Look,
Skiz,
investigating this.
I tried. And everyone in the Wasteland knows
Yeah.
I tried when I was down there to try and be the unfortunately, synth racist sounds really bad.
Yeah.
And I like let's be careful about that. But the reality is I wanted to be a character that gave the synthetic characters a point of conflict, because for the longest while synth characters in the Wasteland got treated like people, and in the Wasteland that makes sense, right? But in the Row, in the Upper City, and stuff like that, that's not as realistic, you'll find, because machines are a lot more common up there. So
Yeah.
are you going to look at a robot that's carrying a box versus a robot that makes your coffee like any different? Are you like
I think a weird thing is that right now the stuff going on with AI in the world might actually help people get into the right mindset.
Yeah. Robots are stealing your jobs.
Yeah. But I'm excited to play around with Sid's storylines pretty heavily.
For sure. Let's see. What other things do we got here? New SCP models. Yep. Definitely working on those for things. For that fantastic Union Heights project. I know me and Bucky are excited for. I won't go into.
Oh,
but
yeah.
We got some pretty fun stuff for that. Let's see. Tactical corpo office raids, character missions like the synth mission last season. Certainly an idea for that. Let's see. Since of the main characters I watched, I'm excited to see what new characters people come up with if they choose to retire theirs during season 3.5. I'm right there with you, Case. I'm so excited to see what people bring in. I've heard some people's ideas for what they want to bring in. I look at Witcheru in the chat and point Slug. I see Slug. I get excited. Let's see, the giant game of telephone. Hoping to see more of everything that has been worked on in action. Yeah. I know Major and Skiz have been working on a lot of stuff for the maps in particular, for like fun system stuff that we'll be able to talk about here soon-ish once we get the maps up and going. But definitely a fun thing to talk about in the future. Let's see. Case, if you want to do that, you do that. It's all you.
I'm assuming it has something to do with Krilk.
No, it was actually robot racism, believe it or not.
Not Krilk, please.
Oh, please, let's not get into the Krilk. God, it's so cursed. I want to see more non-corp PCs commit to a corp and not just be a spy/plant and stuff. Certainly an idea for sure.
Don't worry, I got you.
We got you there. We definitely want to see some fun stuff there. You would actually be surprised how many characters actually got surprise adopted into corporations straight up, rather than being spies or plants. Though, like the size of Masaru season 3 was something to behold.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dogs came in. He wasn't even a full character, and he got surprise adopted. You wish for Drow lore? Well, I mean, that's up to the Drow characters. I look at Silent. Let's get that Drow lore going on. Let's.
I think they've already
they've
started.
written it quite a bit. Yeah, I know. I'm just waiting to see more. Krill Corp will rule the galaxy. Yeah, Silent did write it, and we have it. It's been submitted. We have it. Yeah, we've got it, and it's there. We
You
just
just
gotta.
need the right time to,
Yeah,
to figure out how to implement that in story things.
exactly. Lore. Oh, I see a Luca. I see a sandwich. Give me something to go off of in the future, possibly. I see. Let's see. Well, let's do a final call for questions, as we've kind of been at this for quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
We'll give it a little bit of time, get some more questions. Any questions? Going once, going twice, please.
Any question, no matter how small or weird.
I don't care.
Right
There
up.
is no kind of wrong question. Chain gun. Chain gun. Look.
Please.
Collective sigh.
Okay, look. So there's two things of a chain gun, right? So the alien minigun is really cool. It's a really fun toy. The issue is that it desyncs like hell. It's a nightmare to depict properly in map because of it trying to sync with everyone else and the shots and all that. It doesn't look good after a while, or if you fill a map full of people.
Yeah, it's hard enough when you have like a full map and everyone's shooting like to try and like there's been so many times where it's like been a full map, full mission, and like trying to add
Yeah.
another like big gun like that into the mix.
Yeah.
It's like so desynced, and then it just shoots like forever on like a bullet per second. It's just bad.
Actually, that's something we can talk about a bit. We're revamping the guns and stuff. We're giving them
Yes.
fresh new coats of paint and fixing those
A
all
little
up and
more than new
stuff.
coats of paint, Nick.
I mean, we're adding
It's
more
a
coats
good
of paint too,
It's
right?
a good
Like,
rework of the whole
Yeah.
system, and
It
I'm so
is.
excited.
Yeah,
Timeless has been diving in.
Timeless has been going at it. The Sentinel and our fantastic devs have been working really hard on those new gun models. I can't show them off just yet, but I want to really bad. They look really cool. And
Yeah, I mean, a massive shout out to our dev team all around. Seriously, they've been putting in some amazing time, amazing effort into all the systems that we're going to be using in season both. Well, some in 3.5, but mainly in season 4, and we're like, we're constantly blown away. I swear, it's like once a week I'll pop into the channels on their Discord and see like so much crazy cool stuff that they've been working on, and it's like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Every
Really,
time
really incredible.
Deadly comes in
Yes.
with an update, I get scared
Yeah.
because I just
Yeah.
look,
Yeah.
working iron
Yeah.
and hollow sights.
The
What?
actual red
What
dot
do you
that
mean?
follows
What do you
what
mean
it's supposed
actual
to.
red dot?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what the hell?
Weapons will be usable again.
Exactly. And we are fixing the categories, balancing the categories, adding new weapons, changing some weapons, all sorts of things. That's coming all with the skill rework and the balancing rework that we're just doing in general, though.
Hopefully
we'll
making so that it's not just one or two weapons that everyone tries to go for.
Yeah. So that's the
But
important thing too,
Valkyrie
to
is
talk
best
about.
corporation. Of course, they all want the Valkyrie weapons, right?
In season 3, there was this sort of rush for corporate weapons, right? Like corporate characters would give them out as like rewards for things, or like, you do something for me, I give you a Valk rifle or something of the sort. And it was the race for better gear, for the new guns and just stuff in general, rather than making it a ladder climb. We're trying to make it more choose the right gun for the right situation. We're giving guns more specialized fields than we're worried about giving them better numbers as you climb up the ladder. Because let's be honest, when everyone had to pick a gun, it was either a Valkyrie rifle or a Shimetsu rifle, and that was the end of the story, because you wouldn't pick an SMG, you wouldn't pick a pistol, you'd want biggest damage. And that was one of the issues that we ran into with a lot of the combat balancing of previous seasons. So we're looking to fix that with the gun rework as well.
I do see one important question here that I want to jump on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think the presence of Union Heights could take away from the dystopian nature of cyberpunk by making Upper City more available? I understand the decision. I'm just asking if it was taken into consideration. So the Upper City still exists. Union Heights is just another area of the city that we're exploring. So like Upper City still going to be a real thing in the world. It's just Union Heights is like, a completely different area. It's going to be the, accessible corpo area. The idea is that in world, it was never an area that was like, super out of reach from the citizens of the row or any of the other, rows throughout the city. It's just like this is kind of like the closest you can. It's like the part of the corpse that's a stone's throw away. You know what I mean?
It's the ground floor of the office building that is
Yeah.
the corporate tower in the upper city. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
one important thing to note is that, some folks may be worried that it takes away from the dystopian feel of our cyberpunk future here, but I think it actually adds to it, right? Because corporate characters are no longer going to be the head honchos in charge, and that means everyone has a boss, which means that reality is going to come down a lot harder now that, the GMs can actually push forward scenarios that make characters make tough choices. And that's where cyberpunk dystopian reality really comes crashing in, is when characters have to make good choices for them, but bad choices for everyone else. And when the machine tells you to do something, it expects you to move. But, cyberpunk is the punk fighting the cyber. And even corporate characters have their own way of fighting the machine that tells them what to do and benefit off of it. And that's one very important detail that we want to note for the corporate characters going to Union Heights. Is this isn't just making upper city more accessible. This is bringing things more into a realistic scope. So that way everyone feels the crushing reality of the dystopia we live in, and not only just one group benefits off of it or one group feels oppressed by it.
Your CEOs
this
aren't
is-
safe anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is it's going to feel way more cyberpunk than it really ever has.
Because previously you'd have this thing where it's like, okay, I'm wanted by Valkyrie. All I have to do is find a Valkyrie character, befriend them, and I'm good to go. Now it's like, okay, you befriend that Valkyrie character. Now they got to convince their boss, that it's okay. Or, maybe they got to lie to their boss to let you slide under the rug. Or, maybe they just have to make the choice where like, okay, I'm already on the chopping block in this corporation. I need to betray my friend. There's... It's not just cut or dry. Oh, well, I have the power to pardon you. Done. Easy. Now it's, okay, well, I got to make a choice here.
Yeah.
Union Heights is the place where everything has a price. That is what we would decided.
Yeah.
If it's trust, if it's position, if it's life or death, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. We do have one minor question here. What about Gate Guard RP? We're done with Gate Guard RP. We're done with it. Everyone in this room has had to suffer Gate Guard RP, and we're sick of it. We're
not
sick of
happening
Gate Guard
anymore.
RP. We want SCPs to have a good time, not sit in a in full body, look at fucking Netflix for half the session. All right, I know some people enjoyed that, but we're here to role play, not sit in chairs.
Yeah.
Yep.
I specifically remember like during the season 2 the gala, someone fell asleep doing guard RP because they were stuck on a roof with a sniper rifle. Like, we want to avoid that.
Person you want to fall asleep, right?
Yeah.
We're, to be specific, we're getting rid of Gate RP. We're not getting rid of guards. Like there won't be there will be guard characters, there'll be security characters, stuff like that. But the more important thing is we're getting rid of the boring part that was just guarding a fucking door and just waiting for someone to walk up. Because how is that fun? How is that role play? It's not. It's just not role play. It's just sitting at a door.
It's just filling
wasting your Friday.
That, like the robots and the sentries next to all the doors are already doing.
Right? Yeah. It's just, it's not a fun thing to do. It had its moments, of course, but those were the people having fun making those moments, not the position to have that moment and that RP happen, right? It's not the duty, it was the people, and we want to reward the people and not reward the duty. But let's see. There was a more important question here. I do have a minor question. From my experience as a gathering corporation as Masaru, we had to leave our map often. What's going to be the consideration for resources? So that's a pretty good question. For one thing, with the skill rework and crafting and stuff like that, we are looking to make things a bit more impactful and a less video gamey. There's a lot of things going around called like gamification of the systems, and like it's less RP and more MMO and stuff like that. We want to fix that 100%. But there are characters who did benefit off those systems. So we don't want to get rid of them, but we do want to change them to be more impactful. I know Skiz in particular, your character was a gatherer and a mechanic and all that stuff relating to that. So we don't want to get rid of that cool RP stuff, because I know personally I would love to have a character, if I wasn't JR here for an example, I wanted to be like a cool, like a row, cyberneticist who just, works on mechanical bits and puts them into people, right? So that's a part of the RP. That means that we still have to have a system that facilitates that kind of RP for people and gives them benefits and, mechanical enjoyment out of that. Because some people like to crunch numbers, and that's okay. But this is a role play, and the mechanics have to help the role play, not the role play has to exist for the mechanics. So we're working to make that more of a impactful thing. And for resources, we're looking to balance them more across the maps and to make each map have more of a specialization, so that way people aren't as worried as before coming out of their maps, but we still want people to go to other maps for their specializations. Like if you're a magical corporation, you probably don't need to go to Undercity all the time for magical things, because there's probably other magical sites you can visit, like out on the Wasteland, or maybe you just go and you're trading for things in the, Union Heights for them. You're going to someone who has like a cache of hidden magical artifacts or plants that they've gotten smuggled away for you because they stole them from another corporation trying to use them or something like that.
Or you try to bribe your boss, and you come up with a way to like, get the whatever resources you need from your boss. But and also to tack onto that, there's a lot of the objectives that we're going to have for our characters. Each corporation is going to have like, a bunch of objectives for the characters to accomplish given from their boss. And they'll a lot of those objectives will, a lot of times they won't include having to gather resources or having to go out of your way to other maps to do things. A lot of times it'll be contained to that map, and you won't have to, it won't be as gamified. You won't be like going and trying to scavenge for stuff all the time, all that stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're looking to fix the resources so that way each map has their specialization, so that way people can still get the resources that they want. I think one of the maps that was the heaviest hit by this was the row. The row definitely needs more than just the one little scrapyard of resources. So for my row people, get excited for stuff. That's about all I can say.
Oh, man.
I want to say more, but I can't. I wish I could. Let's see. So to double check with Rex Firestorm here. Yes, we're getting rid of the Upper City in the map rotation. We're going to a new map called Union Heights. We'll be using it for season 3.5, but then after that, we'll be going to season 4 with a new map for Union characters that brings it closer, brings everyone together, and brings corporate characters down to a realistic level that we're hoping to achieve. Let's see. You're fine, Morph. You're okay. You've been out of the loop. I understand. It's been a year. I don't blame anyone.
Yep.
Gotcha. Since magic was also a bit complicated to explain because you got people with limited actions like the simplest of spells versus randos with a beam. That's another thing. We are also looking at magic is in one of the big revamps. We're looking at it. We're trying to we sat down for the longest while, the GM team, the character team, and all sat down and crunched out what the magic system actually means lore-wise. So we have that idea down. We just have to put it into system now, and we're getting closer to that.
Yeah, that's one of the harder systems to really figure out exactly.
Yes, we are. We're going quite a bit, but we'll finish up these questions here. Let's see. Let's see what else. The row needs so much love. Yes, it does. Yay stuff. Yay stuff. Good changes are on the horizon. Magic gives me a headache. Yeah, I love magic, but boy, is it complicated. Yep, I'm right there with you, folks. It's a hell of a time.
Just play a synth. Don't interact with magic. Easy. Done.
Yep.
Yeah, just play a robot. Just just fuck it. Just
except then, of course, you're wondering whether or not like each magical effect you can see it or not. So whatever.
Yeah, That was another thing we tackled since. We did tackle since. Oh my god.
Mhm.
So to kind of give you guys an insight to what the skill rework sort of started off was I took my character team and I trapped them in a room. They didn't know it, but they were trapped in a room for over 24 hours on a weekend. And what came out of it was a wall of memes and a baseline for a lot of our systems. The triangles were born. Sasquatch got a suit on. The crab, the spaceball court.
Yep.
You know, we figured out crabs do not care for the wall. Like they were just all over the place. It was a whole bunch of stuff.
It was a mess.
It was a mess, but we got it baseline figured out, and you know, it cost some people their sanity, but honestly, it was worth it.
Small price to pay.
Small price to pay for that. But yeah, Bigfoot was indeed civilized. I know psionics has been coming up a lot. I will be completely honest. Psionics is something that we're looking at, but we're not sure if we're going to follow up with super hard. And the reality behind that decision was twofold. Being that psionics is a very hard system to wrangle on top of magic already being such a big thing. If psionics and magic exist in the same system, it can be done, but then it takes away from a lot of the core themes in my mind about what Neon Divide is, right? Because we have this super technological civilization that is now having magic kind of come back and get like almost accosted by magical forces and magical people and all these weird things happening all of a sudden. And to add another element to that is psionics, which is a whole different ballpark of just like realities and storytelling and stuff like that, is something that's really hard to balance for the GM team. And it's just kind of the reality behind it.
And when you think about it as like a mechanic, it works great for like tabletop, you know, like just normal D&D. It works, you know, because a lot of the times the characters that you're using it on are the DM'd characters that they've put in place to allow to be controlled by psionics, you know, to be manipulated at whatever you can possibly come up with to accomplish your goal. With this, you know, it's different with a VR roleplay, because when you're actually stepping into your character and you are your character for 4 hours straight versus like, you know, tabletop, you're in and out of character a lot. You're not actually like in the environment.
It's turn-based, right?
Yeah.
The difference between something that is live and turn-based.
But the thing is when you have to try to do that against other characters that are fully in their character, that are, you know, in the environment that their character is in, that are experiencing the same thing their character is experiencing in real time, it's a lot harder to get, you know, everybody on board with okay, now your character walks over here and does this, and you have to, you know, go and do it because you're being controlled. So it's it's a bit harder to justify in a VRRP setting versus a tabletop setting.
Mind magic in general is always one of those weird things where if it happens between players, it gets a little weird, right? Because it has to be preconceived. It has to be, both players have to be comfortable with it. And with the reality of VRRP of this scope, some players don't talk to each other or don't interact until that moment in session. And that's just the matter of the live action, like, you know, factor of the VRRP of this scale, is that I've had characters, you know, interact with each other and never know each other outside of that one interaction. Like, oh, you're V4 from Undercity. That's so cool, you know. But if you're doing something with like mind magic or psionics that messes with people's minds, there has to be a lot of trust there and a lot of like good consideration beforehand. And in the RP of the scope, it's really hard to get that so easily obtained without knowing the person really well and stuff like that. So rather than worrying about
like almost 200 people, it's like
and so rather than worrying about like making sure that people got these consents and stuff like that, just we'll be working with the characters who did work with it in the previous seasons, because there are some good characters and some good stories that came out of all of that psionic stuff in the previous seasons. I know Noodle's character Phil was a fantastic psionic character with the burger. The burger was a big story moment in season 1 and season 2 for a lot of folks who were involved with that. And there's some other characters I won't speak out about because, you know, they're probably not as notable or want to be exposed for these cool gifts that they have. But we'll be working with those characters hopefully here soon about those things. But the reality is that psionics is really hard to wrangle in addition to magic. So that's what I have to say on that matter. Let's see.
Make plans for
I
the
know we've
big
been-
worm in the wastelands.
That
Find
is
out
a
in RP.
find out in
The
character.
spice
Find
must
out in
flow.
character.
Find out in character. Let's see. We're not touching technomancy like the plague. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Magical and technological interactions just leads to magic tech, and I'll be very honest. I'm not the biggest fan of magic tech in this setting.
Yeah, because it would change the settings so much. Like the
Again,
moment you
yeah.
have like the ability to heat something with magic, then all power generation completely changes in a setting, and it's just like all current like the aesthetic of the setting would have to change over time if that kept going. And it's just very difficult to say like, okay, we're changing the setting because someone's finally figured out how to, make a fire rune work in a power plant. Like the moment you get that, then everything gets complicated, and then okay, now we no longer need engines on planes because we use air magic, and everything completely changes very rapidly, especially when we're at this level of corporate power where they just have, at the top level, almost infinite resources to throw around. Masaru would become the biggest corporation overnight. Nothing else would be able to stand against it. It just gets really messy really quickly the moment you really start allowing really heavy automation of magic, basically.
Also takes away from like the uniqueness of magic, right? Like if it becomes an everyday commodity, it's not as cool and interesting when you see it in the RP.
Leo Corpse gave me this sort of talk when I was still just a GM back in the day. But the thing I said earlier, the cyber to the punk, is what the theme is, right? It's the cyber, the machine of everything going on with the corporations, the technological civilization, the gears in the wheel, the zeros and ones that make up these power structures being fought against by the punk element, the rogue element, the thing that makes you a person, that makes you unique. And by making magic not unique, you take away that punk element from magic, fighting against the whole technological structure. So to have them meld makes that no longer like a core feature of the setting and more cyberpunk. It takes away from that idea, at least in my mind.
I mean, it's doable. It's such a big change
doable.
to the setting that it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be so critically different, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. The mother worm, that's a Wastelander question, and find out in character. Will the Necropolis still be in available space? Yes, the Necropolis will still be in available space. We're not planning to do any major changes to the maps for Season 3.5.
Undercity also got a lot of love last season, and is definitely not the priority in terms of like the row needs so much love right now. Union Heights obviously didn't exist, so like there's a lot of dev time needing to be put there, things like that. So the Necropolis is not going away currently. Like there'll be story things happening with everything in every map, but don't worry, the Necropolis is not going away, but the way that people interact with it might change, it might not. We'll see. We'll go too deeply into that.
Exactly. And the reality with Season 3.5 is because we're not ready for Season 4, we're not going to be implementing a bunch of new things. Some minor map changes at most. I know the devs want to do a lighting pass in a lot of the maps because reflection probes. It makes
Only
them...
the Wasteland has one right now, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
And there's a bunch of other things that want to be minorly worked on, but a lot of the dev focus is going towards Union Heights because the corporate characters need a map that functionally works. All the other maps functionally work, even if they're not ideal. So we need a map for them that better facilitates their RP in that scope.
Well, it's not just for them. I want to make sure that we clarify that. Like this is an extension to the world for everybody that makes it more realistic for everybody to actually show up and be involved with that corporate RP.
And it's a place for that all characters or most characters in the roleplay can go to, can utilize, can enjoy for, whatever they want to do there.
Yeah,
Of
because
course.
again, that was one of the biggest issues previously. Was it was a map for 1/4 of the players plus whoever they invited, and that was it.
Of
Yeah,
course.
and it was empty for most of the session because everybody
Of
would
course.
leave to go do other things.
And
And
what
no
I
one
mean,
would come in.
what I meant by that was making sure that the players who will be
Yes.
habiting that map, that they have a map to roleplay on that functions
Yes.
for other people to come in and
course.
roleplay
Yeah.
with, and there for them to roleplay with on. Of
That
course,
they
For
can
sure,
role
for
play
sure.
but
there
thank you
instead
for
of role play
expanding.
elsewhere. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Because how many times did we see Upper City get flooded out into other maps, like the Undercity constantly is 60 cap, or the Wasteland filled, or whatever it may be, and the Upper City just be empty, right? So we definitely want to fix that issue. Let's see what we'll take some last ones here, and I think
Yeah,
we'll
let's
wrap
take
up.
1 or 2 at most.
Yeah. Unsure if you can answer this, but is the Neon Divide site going to have changes? Yeah, that needs to be updated. That's definitely one of those things that we've been looking at to update for a while. For a good bit, it needs to be updated with new people, new things. We'll be getting those changes out when we can with the web dev team. If you have to choose a song as an opening like an anime for ND Season 3.5, what would you feel it would be?
3.5 anime opening.
I don't know. I think
It's tough
it
'cause
might
it's
be a
like
bit
a-
more sinister than an anime opening.
It's tough because 3.5 is like, it's kind of different for what it is for each map.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I feel
exactly.
like it's hard to say like pinpoint one specific.
Yeah, because like down in the
song.
Undercity, like the stuff that's currently going on is like at the end of last season, there was kind of a claim for independence, and that kind of starting to be accepted by the GU, and now we're moving on with okay, so 3 months on, let's see how that's progressed. That's where we're at in Undercity. Upper City is in this position that's very different.
Yeah.
Let's see. If I had to pick a song, I mean, do I just pick the Ghost in the Shell theme and just go with that? Is that too on the nose?
It fits
I-
for Row.
It does. That's what I'm thinking. Like, if you had to pick one for your map, let's go with if it's for your map. What opening would you pick?
Oh man.
I know which one I'd pick, but it's not a song that any of you can hear yet. That's the thing.
That's true.
Yeah, you
That's
guys
true.
know. Yeah, all the
Yeah.
money has to go.
Yeah. I mean, even in the even though I was saying the Undercity has like one feeling, even then, like each of the different GMs down in the Undercity are kind of like going for slightly different themes in the main stories that they're pushing as well. So like, while I might say something more along the lines of like Psychopaths, like I know that's something very different than like I know Friendly's going much more heavy in the magic direction. So it's like like.
Yeah, but he's hitting that hard, heavy rock vibes too. If I had to guess, Friendly's taste in music. Let's see. Hi, Chair. This is Paige. It's really great to see you again. My question to you is, what's your favorite thing about being a Neon Divide?
No, it's impossible to pick one thing. I feel like all of us
I'm
up
right here, Chair.
I mean, you could just say it, Chair. It's okay.
Yeah. Fine. No, fine. No. I mean, it's all these guys. It's the whole cast. It's the whole the whole staff. Like everyone that's a part of this. It's my favorite part. I always say that like at the end of every session, I always say that it's like my favorite place in the world, and I can't freaking wait to get back to role playing and being in my favorite place in the world. Great.
Fantastic.
Well said.
Let's see. One thing for Case there. Oh, something I meant to ask during the Q&A. Was there a time gap between the end of Season 3 and the beginning of 3.5? Yep, we're going about 3 months into the future from Season 3. Close enough where no one has to do any critical model changes, but far enough that things can progress a bit. And then to just kind of follow this up here for Season 4, we're going to be doing the rest of the year skip. So Season 4 will be the full year after Season 3. That way there's
It'll be about
time.
3 months and about 9 months, give or take.
Yep.
Yeah, because we like to do a year skip in between our seasons and stuff to kind of give people time to move out, time time for things to change, the characters to progress and grow and evolve and all that jazz in between if they want to do stuff for that. Let's see, but I think that's about.
With that, we should probably start wrapping up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap up.
So thank you for joining us. This has been SlummerTV, the official Neon Divide podcast. I know we do have dogs. You wanted to shout some things out real quick?
Yeah. So this project couldn't be done without you, the cast, the staff, the audience. And so we like to say that we have a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/neondivide. You'll start getting news and details and videos earlier than the rest of the community will see them. Again, that's patreon.com/neondivide. As well as visiting our store. We have merchandise, so you can buy your favorite.
They can barely hear you, dogs.
Ah, fuck!
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We do have a Patreon at patreon.com/neondivide. We do have a merch store at, what was that link again?
Store.neondivide.
Store.neondivide. See, people, this is why I have a team. I can't do anything on my own. And then, of course, we have our Discord, and we, of course, page that you can learn more about Neon Divide and that we will be updating. Give us some time. We've been busy working on the core systems of the RP. So with that, we thank you so much for stopping by, and we can't wait to see you for season 3.5 and beyond. Have a good one.
Take care.
Take it easy.
Guys. Thank you.